Sujewa, Three Eye Atlas is not just a strange celestial body headed our way, it is also a film festival that is headed our way beginning this Friday with a screening of Bittersweet in New York with special guest filmmaker Steve Martini on hand, as I understand it. So, we're going to talk about what this festival is. It's another one of your beautiful brain children, and let people know what they can expect. It's not just this weekend, but there's going to be events happening into next year. So I'm
Mm.
excited to talk about it, both in theater and at home experiences, and yeah, all good stuff. A lot of films that we've talked about here on IndieSeen, and some things that are going to be brand new to me. So I'm excited to talk about it and also to find out how you and I are both going to be on the big screen, sharing some time together. That'll be very interesting. First of all, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good. Busy week, getting things done. Lots of Three Eye Atlas Fest related stuff. A couple of filmmakers I wanted to interview I couldn't get this week because they're too busy. Vadim in Paris and Amir from Young Ali. But let me rattle off a list of the movies that we're showing.
Okay.
We have Bittersweet, that is this Friday, theatrical, and also that's available online. And I'll have a list of all these links posted on my blog, and I'll send you the link. So by the time this goes live, you can add it below.
Yep.
It's already on my Twitter. So Young Ali is available as an at-home viewing movie right now. Narodnaya, which is a city in Russia, documentary about a Russian art commune type thing, or art club. That's available on YouTube. Prospects, Morgan's Cake, and Blues for the Avatar. All by Rick Schmidt, available online. Casey Makes a Mixtape, available to rent or buy on Amazon and elsewhere. Cosmic Disco Detective Renee, The Secret Society for Slow Romance, Werewolf Ninja Philosopher, all movies related to my upcoming movie, 53 Spaceships, which will play at the festival in March. And those are available online. The Last Days of Joseph Koch Comics Warehouse, which is related to the upcoming 53 Spaceships movie in the way that it's edited using a lot of stock footage, and that's available online. And the battle over the battle over seven Hong Sang-soo movies. That's the podcast episode that is a part of this festival, and that's online. And that is all the movies, I believe. And the 13th movie is 53 Spaceships, which will screen theatrically on in March.
Well, tell me how the idea for this festival came about, and also how you chose this very eclectic mix of movies. Is there a theme here, or you just kind of seem to collect films and filmmakers as you go along on your own journey, and you've shared some of those with me. So let's start with Three Eye Atlas. What's that all about?
So, like the space object, which might be an alien spaceship, uh, or it might not be, but we'll see. That's coming from another part of the universe into ours, bringing in lots of interesting information. Same way, we're bringing in these great indie movies that are not well known, and the great indie filmmakers that are not well known to Brooklyn. So that's the connection. Plus, I'm fascinated by the Three Eye Atlas space object, so I just used that for the festival name. The festival came together because I'm releasing a new movie, 53 Spaceships, and there were these other indie movies that I had scheduled to show at some point, so I pulled them all together. So there isn't a huge thematic similarity between the movies, except I think they're almost all by experienced indie filmmakers, and or in the case of Vadim, he's made like 10 movies in a couple of years or something, documentaries. So, experienced indie filmmakers, largely movies that have not gotten a ton of press in the mainstream world. And yeah, so an unusual mix, but it should be fun.
And where are these? Are these going to be screening at one theater, or you plan to get multiple venues? Or tell me, like, what's the experience going to be like for people who to make their way out to Brooklyn?
At Film Noir Cinema. Let me mention the movies that I mentioned are all available online,
Hmm.
various places except 53 Spaceships. Let me mention the movies that are going to screen in Brooklyn and when. Bittersweet this Friday the 12th. Young Ali in March, probably mid March. Narodnaya in March. That's the film by filmmaker Vadim Kostrov, if I'm pronouncing his name properly. Prospects, Morgan's Cake, Clues for the Avatar in March. And then 53 Spaceships in March. So I think 7 or 8 movies will screen at Film Noir Cinema.
And are you planning to have? I know Steve's coming out for Bittersweet, but is the idea to get all the filmmakers to come out and screen their movies with you?
We'll do Q&As at least Zoom or on the iPhone with filmmakers who can't come out. Yeah, in general, we try to get filmmakers out. But I mean,
Cool.
I'll be there for my movie. I'll be there for all the movies, doing intros and Q&As, facilitating them. Steve Martini will be there for his movie, and we'll see if Amir can come out and if other filmmakers can come out. Most likely, Vadim K and Rick Schmidt will do sort of like Zoom or using cell phone Q&As, and I've done that. I did that once with Amir Motlagh, and that worked really well. And we'll see if Amir can come out. If not, he'll be sort of a remote Q&A also. But yeah, there will be Q&As for every screening.
Nice. Now, Vadim, you said he's in Russia. Is that where he lives? That's where he calls home, or does he just happen to
He
be there now?
he escaped from Russia. He's in Paris now.
He's in Paris. Oh, okay.
Right.
Wow. All right. So that'll be a fun time difference.
Yeah, he said yesterday at 4, I recorded a show. He said he was going to make that. Then I got a text or email right before that saying, no, I'm not feeling well. So I have no idea what time it was in Paris. But yeah, that makes sense. It might be difficult for him to join. But, he's done this kind of thing worldwide before. His movies have played in the US, Europe, probably other places. And he does Q&As, remote Q&As.
Cool. So, I know you said there's not necessarily a theme, that unifies all the movies together, but what are you hoping audiences discover beyond just kind of like, hey, there's some new indie filmmakers we should, check out. Is there something that you're hoping, like a message you're hoping to deliver to people who are coming out for either like one screening or the entire festival?
These are all good works that are under discovered or undiscovered. So hopefully, audiences can get to know these filmmakers and get to know these films. Other than that, let me think about. No, it's just all interesting, real indie, ultra indie filmmaking that's visible in these movies. Rick's movies, I think all three that I'm showing, at least two, were shot on 16 millimeter many years ago. So that will be interesting. So the audiences will get to discover real indie movies that are, being put out by filmmakers that are not widely known.
And I know with all the kind of the talk of the big Netflix drama that is unfolded last week, there is, questions about what does the future of theatrical mean? I mean, we've kind of been through this conversation in various iterations, from streaming to COVID to now this, the movies have not had the greatest couple of years, at least in the mainstream. So like bringing people out to an indie kind of film festival, is do you see this as a way of kind of keeping that spirit alive of the act of going out to the theater to experience something new?
Yeah, theatrical is the best way to watch indie movies, or really all kinds of movies. And I did some research last night as to what the actual financial situation is with movies. Movies worldwide still make a lot of money, billions of dollars, something like 20 billion, 30 billion. I mean, check the numbers because I don't remember them at the moment. And from what I could tell, what's happening is that streaming makes more money, but movies that play at movie theaters end up making more money on streaming. So the two are working together. I think just the leading component is going to change from theatrical leading and then followed by streaming. Money making wise, streaming will make the most money, but the theatrical will help establish certain directors and actors and will help with promoting the titles when they get to streaming. Um, with my festival and ongoing events for the next few years and beyond, I hope to always try to do theatrical events as often as possible.
Now, this case, as we kind of mentioned, a lot of these movies are available online.
Mhm.
So, is there any concern that people stay home and just rent the movies and not come out?
The online availabilities for people who are primarily not in the Brooklyn area or New York City area, who might want to check these movies out since they're already out. But these movies are not heavily promoted and they're not well known. So people in the New York area may hear about these for the first time through the promotional work that I'm doing. And I think those who are interested, if they can, they'll try to come out to the theater because it's a much better experience. You get the Q&A and you get to watch the movie on a large screen, better sound. It's just a much better experience. A lot of people who I know who are into indie movies or into movies in general, if they can, they'll try to watch it at a movie theater.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be something. Yeah, and streaming is great for indie movies because it gives them exposure, and big Hollywood movies certainly don't need any more exposure. But yeah, there is just something nice about going to a theater and having that kind of communal experience. And I feel like there's something with independent films that kind of encourage or foster just naturally conversation afterwards, not necessarily even in the Q&A, but just the idea of walking out into a lobby and talking with folks. Whereas when you go to the AMC or the Regal, down the street, and you sit through a 2.5 hour Hollywood movie, people just kind of shuffle out and they go to their cars. There's not a whole lot of discussion. I don't know if that's just the nature of the movies, like they've just consumed a McDonald's hamburger, and there's not much to talk about, or I'm not sure. Have you experienced that? And what do you think it is? If it's not the obvious of what I kind of just said, like there's more to discuss with something that's independent that has hopefully a bit more heart and brains.
I think multi-layered versus simple. I think the Hollywood movies, because they have to appeal to so many people, they try to make it as simple as possible. Whereas indie movies and foreign movies, art house movies, even from Hollywood, they're not really worried about that. They can have multiple layers. Things are not maybe clearly spelled out. Like watching a Godard movie. There's a Godard movie called Detective that I plan on rewatching, and I watched it a long time ago. You kind of have to actively engage with it and figure out what's going on. I mean, there's like six things going on all at once. So, it's not a simple storytelling method. Whereas, watching a Hollywood movie, even before it ends, you know, be done with consuming everything there is to know about the movie, and in your head, the plot might already be finished. Then the movie catches up with you. Whereas indie movies, like I was saying, and like you were saying, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot to discuss, and things may end in ambiguous ways.
For sure. I mean, I know, like I said, I haven't seen all the movies that are playing at the fest, but I have seen a number of them, and that does seem to be the kind of the common denominator. Even the movies that I like, I'm not completely crazy about, like Bittersweet. And we talked to Steve on the show earlier this year, and also his wife. Um, that's a bonkers comedy that it's not quite mainstream, but almost has that edging towards, wider appeal, not the complete indie sensibility.
Mhm.
I feel like it would be accessible to a bigger audience, but it's also very, very strange in parts. We talked about this, the production design on the family courtroom scene. That shows a degree of imagination that I wish I could see, when I'm going to see a mainstream movie. The same thing kind of like with Young Ali, and I talked to Amir about this a couple weeks ago now. That episode went up. And that is a COVID movie, but it's also about kind of like despair and loneliness, that's told in a way that's very universal, but also very indie. And I've been thinking about this like the last couple of weeks. What would the mainstream Hollywood version of that story be? And I kind of shudder to think about it. So it feels like there's some stories that can only be told through an independent kind of lens. I don't know if Hollywood could tackle these things. I mean, I'm sure that they could, but I don't know if they would have the same recognizability, the same universality that one singular vision can put on the screen, rather than having to filter it through committees and different departments.
Yeah, Hollywood is large corporations with public stocks, shareholders, investors. So they're primarily in it to try to make a profit. So they need to put out something simple that could work for millions, billions of people. Yeah, so they wouldn't be able to do movies like Young Ali or anything that I make, Rick Schmidt movies. But something like Bittersweet is, yeah, almost Hollywood. So I could see that movie coming out in like the 1990s or so. I always consider that, not consider, compare that movie to Flirting with Disaster. And
Hmm.
that was sort of a complex movie. It was a comedy, but there was many threads and many questions about families, figuring out birth parents, just weird, sort of, you know, complex issues like that are in there. And Young Ali, I screened in Brooklyn last year. A bunch of people showed up. It was interesting, and I really liked that movie on the big screen. It works much better on the big screen than on the small screen. A lot of these small minimalist indie movies, for me, work a lot better on the big screen.
You bring up Flirting with the Disaster. I mean, I only saw that movie once. I think it came out in '96, so it's like, I think it's the 30th anniversary next year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
That It was a Ben Stiller comedy, but it was also, wasn't that a Miramax film?
I'm not certain. Maybe.
I feel like it was, and it's interesting because Miramax, before the whole Weinstein thing blew up, and I think before they went complete Hollywood, like getting into the awards race and all that stuff, that really felt like the sweet spot between the big studio cash, but the indie movie sensibility. And even though you had some like big names and stuff in that movie, it did feel something offbeat, like a major studio wouldn't put out. I know a lot of the major studios today have their own sort of kind of indie divisions or labels, but it's all starting to feel very samey. I mean, I watched an A24 comedy called Eternity, and I talked about that with Katie Glidewell yesterday. That it's strange because it's coming out from an independent studio, but it has all the trappings of a really bad, like, 90s sitcom
Hmm.
mashed with Albert Brooks's Defending Your Life. Do you see, like, and I'm not saying you'd be the spearhead of this kind of revolution, but do you see any possibility of a new Miramax type studio, kind of collecting true independent films and be able to get it out to like lots and lots of people? Or is this kind of the way to go, like pop-up sort of film festivals and streaming and that kind of stuff?
I mean, a new Miramax type studio could emerge. I mean, that's always possible. All kinds of over the last 30, 40 years, all kinds of indie studios have come up and then, either failed or kind of, merged with Hollywood or got bought by Hollywood. That's entirely possible. But I read recently that something like 94% of movies that get out now are indie movies, whereas the Hollywood movies are like 8% or something. So there's a lot of people making lots of different kinds of independent movies and are getting them out mostly through VOD, video on demand, and or Tubi, AVOD, advertising based video on demand. Uh, Not theatrical. So theatrical is sort of reserved now on the Hollywood level for big event movies, but indie theatrical, art house theatrical still continues. Film festivals still continue. The way might be the way that it's happening now. A lot of different filmmakers putting out interesting stuff, independent of Hollywood.
I want to switch gears right now because something just popped into my head. The schedule. I mean, you've got Bittersweet this weekend,
Hmm.
and then you've got Young Ali in March.
Right.
Why the gap? Is that just a matter of like scheduling with the theater, or is there something else? I mean, because I know you're planning sort of events through like next spring and stuff, but this is a very spread out kind of festival.
Yeah. The I started promoting the at home stuff on November 10th or so, and all the at-home stuff will continue to be promoted, and they'll continue to be available from November 10th till about end of till like March 20th or so. The the new screenings in March will probably go from March 13th to 20th or so. One of the reasons how the schedule came about was I'm making 53 Spaceships, then my new movie, to show up at this festival in March. So December, January, I'm finishing up that movie, so it won't be done, until end of January or so. So the movies available, the people available, and my own movie, that all came together to create this festival. That's why it's spread out over about 4 months.
Have you like when
And
you?
I think it's a good thing because it gives me more time to promote the movies properly.
Oh, sure. And I guess my question is, did you have a? Because you've done something similar to this before. Do you have a was there a model that you were following, or is just something you thought, "Hey, this would be kinda cool," because it's a very from what I understand, kind of a non-traditional way of doing a film festival. Usually you think of a festival, it's like a weekend or a week or 2 weeks, people coming to a central location, they watch it in a handful of theaters, and then they go home, but this really is something that's gonna be stretched out over, like, the course of a quarter if you count the theatrical screenings placed here and there, plus the ongoing possibility of watching stuff, on demand.
Well, I think this this kind of presentation came about as I got more into figuring out indie film distribution. A tremendous amount of publicity is needed. Promotional work, marketing, press work is needed to just to let people know that certain movies exist, right? These movies, almost all of them, except 53 Spaceships, which isn't done yet. These movies have existed online, in many cases long before this festival came along. But
Mhm.
you know, tons of people have not heard about these movies. So I think the more time we have to build up promo, do ads over several months, the better it is. Because I've done weekends only, or one screening with like maybe a month of promo, 1 month of promo. Those sell out or do really well, but then it always feels like there was a ton of other promotional stuff we could have done that we just didn't have the time to do, or a ton of people didn't hear about it. So I think for film distribution, art house, indie, more time you have, the better. So spreading things out over a long period of time forces you to do a lot more press, a lot more marketing work.
Have you found that there's a particular kind of promotion that's more effective when you're doing this stuff?
Yeah, for the live screenings or the theatrical screenings, Eventbrite seems to work really well. And other than that, ads on Eventbrite is what I mean. Other
Oh,
than
okay.
that,
Okay.
other than that, um, Facebook ads are good, Twitter ads are good, uh, coverage from podcasts are good. Yeah, you have to figure out what works for each movie.
Now, for someone who might be wanting to do kind of follow your example and get their own kind of roving is the wrong moving, no, in motion, kind of perpetual. I can't think of the word I'm
Or
looking for.
stretched out, or
A
over
rolling,
a period of time.
a rolling. That's what I was looking. A
Roll.
rolling film festival, right? What I guess advice would you give? Like, where would they get started as far as promotion? Is it a matter of like buying ad space or just like tweeting and getting the word out? Or, I guess first they'd have to come up with some movies that they'd want to show. But like, how does someone get like started? I'm not trying to create competition for you,
That's fine.
but I'm just thinking this sounds kind of like a new, interesting way of doing things. Because it's like part theatrical, part streaming, which is a merging of, it feels like whereas we're encountering a split, it
Mhm.
seems like you're sort of merging them together to do something new.
Yeah, because one theater in Brooklyn that's showing a movie at a time, one day at a time. A lot of people are not going to be able to get to that, right? But the internet is worldwide, U.S. wide, so a lot of people could potentially hear about these movies. So making as many of them available online for whenever people hear about them, I think it's a good idea for the ultimate goal of making these movies and these filmmakers better known. So if someone wants to do similar, find the movies, come up with a schedule, book some theatrical screenings, and figure out when the movies are available online. Put together a website, and I need to update my website for this festival soon, and have all the information there. Then use social ads, media coverage like this to get the information out. So the key thing is to get the movies and then come up with a schedule.
Speaking of schedule, if I'm not mistaken, the actual Three Eye Atlas celestial body isn't that due to come into our galaxy or come close to
Solar
Earth
system.
some in yeah, our solar system, like soon.
Mhm.
I've heard sometime like later this month.
I
Uh,
think it's going to be later in December. It will be the closest to Earth, which is going to be like 170 million or some miles away. I think so. Yeah. And then I think we'll get to see it again because the circular nature of this solar system. Um, I think towards end of March, it's supposed to be somewhere like near Mars or something when my festival winds up,
I
and
was
and then
gonna
the Rai Atlas, the object will be leaving our solar system. So yeah, it's around to provide support for the festival.
say. um, so I guess my question is, what happens if there's aliens on board? You think you'll get them to come and make an appearance at the festival that's named for their craft?
Sure, I'll be like, hey, yeah, come check it out. We already have a film festival named after your gigantic spaceship. Give me some alien gold or something.
You can take your movies back to wherever they came from. Show them to the galaxy.
That's
Uh,
right. And let me quickly tell people what each of these movies are about.
yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. I was going to ask you if you could kind of give us the rundown of what people can expect beyond the titles.
Yeah, yeah, because you and I are familiar with these, but a lot of people may just hear about them for the first time. Bittersweet is about a young dad who's having problems with the law. It's a comedy. Young Ali, Those Were the Days, is about I guess, an almost middle-aged man who has to move back in with his parents during the COVID crisis. Narodnaya is a documentary about an art space that has music and other arts in Russia. Prospects is about this guy who's doing donkey races or burro races, racing these animals, kind of like horse races, but with donkeys, but shot in black and white by Rick Schmidt, a legendary indie filmmaker. Morgan's Cake is about young person who's dealing with the draft. I think, I think it takes place during the Vietnam era, or probably from. The movie was made in. The movie came out in the early '80s. It's or late '80s. Another one by Rick Schmidt. Who's for the Avatar? Another one by Rick Schmidt. I don't know too much about that one. I've seen parts of it. I should find out more about that one. And so I'll have some information on that on my blogs and websites. Casey makes a mixtape, which is about a teenager who is making a mixtape in the early '80s. Cosmic Disco Detective Renee, my movie, which I star in. It's about a detective who can hear the disco sound of the universe, and he has to figure out if space aliens are traveling through Brooklyn.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm piecing it together here. Is that what Three Eye Atlas is? Did your character summon these damn aliens?
I hope not. Not that I know, but we'll see.
Sorry, go ahead.
Secret Society for Slow Romance, featuring the same characters from Cosmic Disco Detective Renee. That's about a young couple in New York, or old towards middle-aged couple now, I guess, in New York, filmmakers who start a secret society. Werewolf Ninja Philosopher is being promoted as a part of this festival also. Ian Simmons is a big fan of that movie. It's about a werewolf who's a detective. The Last Days of Joseph Koch Comics Warehouse. That's a documentary about a warehouse that is now closed, comics warehouse in Brooklyn. The Battle Over Seven Hong Sang-soo Movies. That's Ian and I debating 7 Hong Sang-soo movies. So, we got werewolves, we got, light reference to some space aliens, we have comic books, we have art spaces, and yeah, artists. So we have a bunch of, you know, space type things going on in the movies.
See, there is a theme,
That's right.
or it's emerging. By the time the thing wraps up in March, I'm sure all of the thematic elements will have revealed themselves.
Sort of
Now,
fantastic stuff.
yeah. So, have you? And you mentioned there's like you said, was it Blues for the Avatar? That was the third Rick Schmidt movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that have any? Because I think I have it on the brain because I just watched the new Avatar movie.
hmm
It doesn't have anything to do with that, does it? Okay.
I know it
No.
doesn't have anything to do with the Blue People Avatar movie. This one is a comedy about two oddball characters, a man, Cheyenne, and a woman, Mary Jane, caught in the circumstances of being unwanted quests in other people's lives. Okay, so that's a good intro.
Yeah, that's yeah, and I'm looking forward to catching up on these. And yeah, I mentioned we've talked about a number of these films, but the ones that we haven't talked about, I think in the next few months, as March approaches, we'll probably do episodes to cover each of these, perhaps with some guests, because I'm really excited to learn about this. I mean, that's one of the great things I think about our relationship, which started years ago with Werewolf Ninja Philosopher, the screening here at Facets in Chicago, is you've really opened me up to the world of independent film because I thought I knew what independent film was. I thought it was things like Miramax and waiting for or flirting with disaster, but there's many different layers and budgets
hmm
and styles of filmmaking that I think from what and again not having seen all of the films, but I feel like what you're showing at the festival runs a nice wide range of styles and genres and just sensibilities. So if people can check out all of the movies and the ones that are showing it at Film Noir Cinema, they can go see them in person. This will be a good crash course education in what indie film really is beyond, like I mentioned, the kind of boutique labels that Fox or whoever Searchlight are trying to put out in the big screen.
Yeah, these are the real indies. And as far as I can tell, all of these were most likely made under $100,000. Casey makes a mixtape, maybe a little bit higher, but rest of them. So almost all of them, if not all of them, are what I consider real indies, at or under $100,000. Um, the other similarity are they're not being distributed by major studios or even big indie distribution companies. So they're largely unknown. So yeah, they'll be good discoveries for a lot of people. The quality of the movies are really good. That's why I'm showing them.
Yeah, and I mentioned an education or a crash course in filmmaking. You held up the Blues for the Avatar book, right? That's
These are DVDs. I got Blues for
oh
the Avatar.
okay.
I got Morgan's Cake. These are Rick's DVDs. I got Prospects.
Well, because Rick's
He also has a
written
book.
right. He's written a few books, I think, about making his movies.
Mhm.
And I know I read one of them. It was great, and for folks out there who have read Robert Rodriguez's Rebel Without a Crew, or other kind of anything by like Kevin Smith, um, talking about what it takes to make independent movies. I mean, those are like the 1990s. When you get down into the people who are in the trenches making these movies for nothing, it
Mhm.
really makes you appreciate not only what they did pull off, but also is kind of inspiring to think, well, there really isn't any barrier to getting out and doing your own thing and showing it online, or finding a place to screen it theatrically.
Yeah, connect with Sujewa and get him and get him at a theater. There was a giant book that Rick sent me, and I just saw it recently, and I wonder where it is. Oh, maybe I can grab it. Yeah, hey, that's right, got it. Check this one out. This is like the larger version of the one that I just showed you.
Oh, wow.
Nice,
Oh,
right? It's like a
yeah.
coffee table book.
Hmm. So is that like detailed? I'm trying to remember the name of the Emerald City book. Um,
Yeah, that's another one that he did.
right, but I mean that was a slim volume, but it was pretty detailed. This is covering his filmography for like 35 years or whatever.
Right?
How are they mostly? Does it get detailed, or is it like kind of an overview of his work?
Each one, each title has a few pages, and yeah, this does go into some details and review clips and all that. Yeah,
Nice.
so this is available on Amazon. Both of these through Amazon. Just Google or search for Rick Schmidt books, and they'll come up.
You don't even have to do that, because I'm going to include that link down the description below. You can click on it
Nice.
and go get yourself one. Well, you already have them. I'm talking to you, the audience
Right.
watching this. Yeah.
Yeah. The real indie film world of Three Eye Atlas Film Festival.
All right. Well, I mean, is there anything? I've been throwing a bunch of questions at you. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't quite covered, or anything I'm missing here?
Uh, we had an interesting discussion yesterday that I recorded with Blake Calhoun from Casey Makes a Mixtape, and also with Stephen Martini from BITTERSWEET. And the theme was of that conversation was breakthrough moments in indie filmmaker careers. And both of those guys were like, I'm not sure if we've had any breakthrough moments, but the more we talked about it, yeah, they've done some very interesting things. Both of them has worked for the studios. Steve Martini has done a lot of well-paid screenwriting gigs in Hollywood, and Blake had like a deal with the Warner Brothers. So there's an aspect to indie filmmaking. There are some really accomplished people who don't think they've accomplished much because compared to the insane levels of money and fame and distribution that Hollywood does, anything an independent filmmaker does feels like a small thing. But in reality, there are some really amazing things that these filmmakers have done. So we have the whole conversation coming out probably late tonight or early tomorrow, and it's called. I think I'm going to call it something like breakthrough moments in indie filmmaker careers, and I'll send you a link of that as soon as that's out. and that's also related to the Three Eye Atlas Festival. Something for people to check out.
Well, I mean, you work quickly. I thought I worked fast, but you work like rabbit fast. So I would imagine that folks can
During the
also look.
weekdays, in the weekends, I'm slow.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's the weekend. That's the whole point. It's over. You got
That's
to
true.
recharge. But no, what the point of that is that folks can also look down below right now, I'm sure, and see a link to to those interviews as well, because I'm going to include them down there too.
Awesome.
Um, but actually, I want to ask a question, like because I know Steve, you mentioned he did some screenwriting work. He was also in Major Pain back in the '90s with
Mhm.
Damon Wayans,
And
and with
he had two other indie movies that that were widely distributed, like 20 theaters or whatever.
and then well, and
In
Blake. And Blake, you also mentioned worked for Warner Brothers. So, is there any sense? I don't know if this came up in the conversation, but any sense that they used some of that money or that work to provide a cushion or like a base in order to allow them to go out and do this more independent stuff?
Yeah, both of them said they did that.
Okay.
And a lot of
Uh,
filmmakers, going back to John Cassavetes, and up to this day, a lot of indie filmmakers do some work for Hollywood when they can take the money and they put it into their own projects.
yeah. I don't know if you ever saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back,
That's
but
why.
yeah, there was that famous scene with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon talking about you do the art, you do the studio film, then you do the art film, you do the studio film, and you do the art film. Yeah, and that movie's almost 25 years old and it still rings true. Anyhow, Sujewa, thank you very much for hanging out and talking to me about the Three Eye Atlas Film Festival that is going on now, and will continue this Friday with Bittersweet at Film Noir in Brooklyn. I have all the information down below, along with where you can find the links to catch up with all the other movies in the festival if you're not able to get out to Brooklyn between now and March, during when Young Ali screens, and also 53 Spaceships.
Mhm.
So yeah, there'll be a lot more conversations ahead. As I mentioned, there's several movies that I have yet to see that I'll be talking to you and hopefully some of the people who made them as part of Three Eye Atlas. It's not the easiest one to say. It's easier to read, but yeah. Any closing remarks, Sujiwa?
Yeah, rolling 4 months long festival. By late tonight or early tomorrow morning, I'll send you all the links. And thanks a lot for the interview. And we will talk a lot more about these movies soon.
Yes, we will. And folks out there, if you like this show, please like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, all that business. Check out all of Sujiwa's links, including the festival info, his website info, all of his movies, everything that you would possibly want to know about this man can be found in links down below. Well, not everything probably, because you have some mystery.
Quite a bit.
But yeah. But anyway, till next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thank you very much and take care.
And donate lots of money to Ian.
That would be nice too. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Hey everyone, Ian here. I know, long time no see. But if you like the video you just watched, feel free to subscribe to Kicking the Seat right here, and also check out the playlist and recommended video right here. Thanks for watching.